Ready?
Just 1 second. Good morning. We're live. We're streaming on YouTube. Ms. Matias, you may proceed with the executive session.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals review session for Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. Begin with the zoning calendar, continued hearing items. Item number 15, 2024, 11 BZ, 2104 64th Street, Brooklyn.
Okay. The initial.
Tony, you want to announce that I'm participating?
Announcer is joining.
I'm sorry. I
Thank you.
apologize. For the record, Commissioner Shetter is joining us virtually. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner Sheta. At the initial hearing that was held on July 16th, the board had asked for some clarification, especially with regards to ownership, and had asked for some improvements to be made to the plans. Applicant has submitted its response. And the information that has been provided with regards to ownership shows that this subject site has been held separately from all other, the only other abutting lot. Also the applicant was asked to provide some landscaping for a small portion of the frontage, and that has been provided. So I think the applicant has responded to all the questions and has met the findings. So I'm satisfied with this application. Vice Chair Shabeta.
Thank you, Chair. I'm also satisfied with this application.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Did additional information about the chain of title because it had not gone back to the threshold date of 1961, and I received it. And I just wanted to state that the reason why I asked is we only had information going back as far as 1968 in one lot, 1966 in the other lot. And the reason why is because Acris doesn't go back any further. But for us, since the threshold date is 1961, it's important that the applicant instruct their title company to do the extra research in the office to provide that data going back to 1961. But other than that, I have everything else I need and I'm ready to vote as you've done.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. This is coming from a commissioner who was with Department of Finance and knows all the documents. And so that's a good point. So applicants, practitioners, please, when you do title search, do ask here your consultant to go as far as 1961 and just not rely on the Department of Finance or Acris data. Thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I saw that the revised the plans to include the landscaping, and they added the use group. Also, they provided explanations regarding the common ownership. I'm satisfied with the application, and I have no further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I'm also satisfied with the application. I just had one housekeeping note in the cover letter that describes the new ownership charts for the adjoining lot. I don't think it actually indicated the block or lot on that document. And just for clarity in the future, we should just make sure you're providing which block and lot identification with the ownership chart. I'm satisfied though. Thank you.
Okay. So at the hearing, applicant just confirm the block and lot and of the abutting lots and for the record and the subject lot. Thank you. Right. Let's go to the
Item number 16, 2420 BZ, 16736 145th Avenue, Queens.
At the initial hearing that was held on July 29th, board had asked for some clarification with regards to the side yards width study, and a revised study was provided for all the buildings that are located within a 200-foot radius. And the study shows that the side yards ranged anywhere from 0 feet to 35 feet for interior lots. So I think the proposed side yard waiver that the applicant is seeking is what would require a 13-foot, I think the requirement is sorry, a requirement is a total of 10 foot, 5 foot each. because it's a narrow lot, but the applicant is proposing less than that. And the study was to establish that this is within the context of what is predominantly built there. They're proposing 2 side yards, 6 foot total, one being 5 foot wide and the other one being 1 foot. So also, from our office, we reached out to the Community Board 13 because the application was sent to Community Board 13 back in April, and we hadn't heard anything back apart from one letter of objection from a neighbor. So Community Board 13 yesterday submitted a letter stating that upon architectural review of the drawings presented in the package material that was submitted to Community Board in April, Community Board 13 has no objection to the applicant's variance request. But if there is any change to the plan, then the applicant, the board does reserve the right to review it and make comments. I do not believe any of our comments would reflect any change, but that is my opinion. But I want to hear from the other commissioners. So I'm satisfied with this application as submitted and the additional information. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I reviewed the sidelights of the study. I also agree that it's not out of character for the area, and I have no further comments. I'm satisfied with the application.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
I also reviewed the side yard study, and interestingly, it did identify another lot that's the same lot width as the subject site, and that lot was only developed with a total of 3 feet of side yards. And so it definitely also goes to the minimal variance as well as the character, showing that a 14-foot wide home with 6 feet of side yards actually is the minimum variance.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Chair. I'm satisfied with the application in light of the side yard study presented to us, and also in light of the community board objection. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I'm satisfied.
Okay.
New cases on the zoning calendar. Item number 17, 2421 BZ 20425 Rockaway Point Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. We received proof of initial filing and hearing notice. The Housing and Land Use Committee of Committee Board 14 in Queens recommended approval. The full board meeting is going to be held on September 10. So we still are waiting for a full board approval, committee board approval. This is an application seeking a bulk variance pursuant to zoning resolution section 72-21 to develop an as-of-right use, a new accessory community center for an existing house of worship on the subject site. The applicant is seeking a front yard waiver, side yard waiver, rear yard equivalent waiver, inner court dimensions, distance between required windows and walls, height and setback, and parking requirement. So this is a through lot site, interior through lot site. It has 3 standalone 3 separate buildings. One serves as a house of worship. The other one is a rectory, and the third one is a community center. The applicant is requesting is proposing to demolish the existing community center and enlarge it to accommodate the growing need, the present need, and the future need of this facility. Because the site, the size of the site is the community center is inadequate to accommodate the need of the programs, various programs this community center provides for the local community, and it is part of the church's mission. The applicant provided an as-of-right plan. So just a couple of house cleaning before we get into the findings. In all of the plan sets, as of right, existing and proposed drawing sets, applicant must show the applicable BFE and DFE to NAVD lines. It is not possible to understand what the flood elevation is applicable to these buildings. In the existing plan, indicate the existing non-complying conditions and dimension them. Provide site plans for all three proposals. There was no site plan, there was just a survey, and the survey just shows the existing condition. But it doesn't give the dimension of the yards and the distance between the buildings, existing as of right and proposed. So those need to be provided. In the proposed plan, add a note that BSA is not waiving underlying flood regulations and that buildings shall comply with all applicable flood regulations. And that goes also for the as of right, because you would have to comply with all of them. So the applicant is proposing a community center, and it would consist of many programming spaces that the Blessed Trinity Church, a nonprofit religious corporation, has been operating and has been providing for its community. The applicant is seeking variance, and it's through the programmatic need. The applicant is making a justification for the site condition for which these variances are requested. And the programmatic need that has been stated, it talks about that there is an expectation to of the congregants to grow from 7,500 to 8,500. But it does not go into the over the years by what period it would grow, and also it's not clear what is the current capacity of the community center. The narrative needs to provide more information regarding the various programs that are currently offered, and these programs serve what age groups. And though a calendar was provided of activities, that is, it needs to be tied in with the narrative as to where the shortfall is and where the difficulty arises. I think there was a missing link in terms of what the statement said and the documents that were provided. What is the existing and proposed hours of operations of the users on the subject site? Indicate them by each building. Also, you need to discuss that this is a complex consisting of 3 buildings with 3 different hours of operation, and the proposed hours of operation, assuming it will remain the same or it may vary. How would that, and I'll go to that in the neighborhood context. So with regards to the neighborhood character, the applicant states there's a significant number of congregants that live near the site, and there is a plaza across the Rockaway Point Boulevard that can provide parking. That's not sufficient in terms of neighborhood character. We need to know more in the document. The finding needs to go through why the waivers are required to meet the programmatic need. That is part of the uniqueness, and also goes towards a neighborhood character. What is the requirement of the volleyball court, or is that a volleyball court or a basketball court? It was not clear. Would an as-of-right building footprint be able to accommodate it? What is the minimum height clearance that is required for such a court? What is the required number of parking spaces on the zoning lot? How many are existing today? And how is the existing parking demand met? And what is the proposal on the proposed operational method of meeting the parking demand on the zoning lot? Where do congregants park when attending services and community programs? What is the projected increase? Where will that be accommodated? Is there an agreement with the plaza across the site that the statement refers to? The narrative should state the existing non-compliance and compare that to the proposed. Also state the existing heights of the building on the subject site. It is not clear from the building height study map what is the proposed height, the existing height, and the surrounding context, how that works. Since the site is located within AE flood zone, what measures will be taken to secure the building and congregants in the event of a flood? Is there an operational plan? The building needs to comply with Appendix G and all other flood regulations. In the statement, clarify if the building will be accessed primarily from Rockaway Point Boulevard and indicate if such an accessway will minimize pedestrian and traffic flow along 10th Avenue, which is primarily a residential. That is another thing that goes to the neighborhood character, that the way the building footprint is oriented, it would minimize pedestrian and traffic volume, would it, that is, along 10th Avenue, which is more predominantly residential, whereas Rocket Point Boulevard has a mix of uses, and that would be the primary entryways and exit points. The facade along 10th Avenue needs to be improved. It is 101 foot long, that is over 40 foot high, with minimal opening. And it is fronting on a street that is comprised of low-rise residential homes. So using material, creating art wall transparency would be a way to break down this pretty formidable looking facade that is fronting on a residential street. Pursuant to zoning resolution 26-41, provide more street trees or rain garden, whichever is best suited for this location along the southern frontage. Provide a landscaping plan accordingly. Will the roofs, there are 2 roof levels. Will these roofs be accessible to congregants? If not, add notes to the plan accordingly. With regards to self-created, this is one of those strange locations. The site is located in the Breezy Point, and it is a part of a Breezy Point cooperative. And these plots were established prior to the adoption of the 1961 zoning. And applicants state that DOB has treated each plot as a lot of record. And St. Thomas Church, which precedes that occupied this site, was built in 1953. It is not clear from the statement if the subject plot of land was held separately from the other abutting plots. That is one thing that the applicant needs to clarify. With regards to the minimal, the applicant, I think overall, if I look at the broad picture in terms of what the applicant is asking, doesn't seem like a lot in terms of the kind of programs that they're talking about, but it is not well vetted, and the narrative is weak in providing the justification. Specifically, the narrative is weak with regards to the minimal part of it. It is anticipated to grow to 8,500. And over a period of what time, it's not clear. What is the need for each one of these program spaces is also not very clear. All of those need to be folded into the narrative to make this argument. So, and also the parking, because if this community facility, community center is going to increase, does that mean there'll be more activities held? Therefore, there'll be more people coming. What will be the parking demand, and what is the parking supply? And if this program is happening during off hours when the church is not in operation, will that be able to accommodate this increased number of pedestrian traffic volume? So all of these need to be discussed, and not just kind of, none of those were really vetted thoroughly. So that is my concern with this application. I think it is possible for the applicant to meet it, but the document is not speaking towards it. And until that is provided, I'm not in a position to be able to make a decision. Vice Chair Shiveta.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with your comments, and I do believe that this case there is a path to success here. I just believe that it needs to be flushed out much better. The only other thing, I don't know if it was mentioned, but I believe we still have an outstanding seeker. They haven't responded to seeker. Other than that, I have no further comments.
Yeah, I think I haven't looked at the secret. I mean, the secret document needs to also clarify the difference between the existing, the as of right, and the proposed. And I don't think that's also very clearly laid out, and it's not helping. I don't think it would help them.
There were comments that were responded to.
Yeah. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So I agree with everything that you said, Chair. I just also want to, I guess, second the point you made about the programmatic needs and the statement being out of line with the proposed plans. regarding the fact that the statement and the programmatic needs talks about how the purpose of this gym is for league volleyball play, and yet the design of the proposed plan supports a full court basketball court. And those are two different sports with two different sets of dimensions for regulation courts. And I believe the volleyball court is smaller than a full court basketball court. So I think they need to, if it is true that they want a gym that's sized for basketball, then they need to talk about why they need a gym sized for basketball. But if it's volleyball, they need to stick with the volleyball on the plans and have it actually go along with and support the whole programmatic needs and the statement of facts and findings about how they have a need for a volleyball court to support league play.
The letter that we got from the church, it had a kind of an interesting calendar, which showed that they cannot hold volleyball events because there's a basketball event going on. But the drawings didn't help me understand how this proposal,
Simultaneously hold both,
right?
just sized for basketball.
Yeah, so that to me was not clear. And those are the missing links. We should not have to sit there, measure it and say, aha, that's what it is. It really is the applicant's responsibility to walk us through that. And this is something you would need to do even for the community. They would need to understand it. The applicant needs to be very clear on that. Okay.
Just in their seeker application does say a high school sized basketball court was what they were looking for. So I certainly think they need to clear that up.
There's no mention of that at all in the statement. Facts and findings. You wouldn't even know they played basketball. It's really interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's commendable to provide these various youth programs and integrate the youth with these programs to their core mission, but it has not been put together properly. Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to be repetitive, but I agree with your statement for other colleagues. Yes, this application, I feel like the ask is reasonable and it's justifiable, but I do believe, even based on an issue like the flood issue, I feel like the applicant need to do some careful vetting for this application and work more on it. One point I want to focus on is the flood issue based on the FEMA map, and this is a clue for the architect / the applicant. That according to the FEMA map submitted back in April, the FEMA map says the site is in AE flood zone, where the BFE base flood elevation is elevation 9. That's what the map says. If this is the case, I believe that BFE, design flood elevation, would be at probably 11. That the lowest floor is 7.5. It's about 3.5 feet below that. I'm not sure if the current design complies with Appendix G, so I would urge them to have someone who's aware of designing the lowest floor based on compliance with Appendix G, because this is important for us. And in the meantime, yes, I agree with you, Chair, that you need to add this typical comment. The project manager can forward the language to it to add that note regarding DSA is not waiving any regulation relevant to the Appendix G and the flooding. I'm supportive of that application. I urge the applicant to make submission, make it probably 90% ready, so we can move it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I have a couple of things to add. I agree with all of your points, Chair. And I'm sorry if I repeat any of these, but the panoramic photos of the existing site conditions are confusing because they're so distorted. I request that you take them without the panorama function on your phone, because it really warps the whole thing and it's difficult to understand the actual street view. And Google doesn't actually have access to many portions of the site. So we are relying on the applicant submitted photos if we're not going to the site ourselves. The photo should be labeled with street names. Photo key plan should be provided. Provide additional photos of the church campus internal to to the site,
Mhm.
not necessarily interior building photos, but between the buildings, so we understand the relationship of the existing buildings. The zoning analysis form, I realize there are a few buildings on this, so it may be confusing to fill out the BSA zoning analysis with the existing, but I think for me, I'm just gonna share it, so we're all looking at the same thing. So in the existing column and the proposed, I was looking here for wall height of the existing building. As the chair said, there's no indication that I could find of the existing building wall height. But there's no existing information filled out here at all. And I think that whatever you're filling in for the proposed, like for instance, the proposed front yard along 10th Avenue, you should put in the existing front yard along 10th Avenue, the corresponding existing information, so that we can make an apples to apples comparison in this form. It's not very helpful if the existing information isn't there, because then we don't understand what the existing non-compliances are. And to that point, that's just seconding what the chair said. We need site plans for all of the scenarios with dimensions of all of the existing yards and courts and side yards, et cetera. To that end, I think that there's an existing side yard along the rectory of about 6 feet based on the survey, but the proposed gym has a side yard of 5 feet. And I'd like to understand if you could match and align so that the side yard is consistent on that western side. On the elevations and sections, you need to provide the BFE and the DFE. From the zoning chart, it does look like the BFE is +12 and AVD 88, and the DFE is +14. We also need measurements of building height per the zoning calculation, because right now it makes your building appear much taller because you're measuring from grade, and we need the measurement from wherever you're taking it to ask for this height waiver, because it's confusing to us to understand how much waiver you're seeking relative to the actual proposal. On A54 of the proposed drawing set, the zoning site plan calls out an inner court waiver stating that 10 feet is proposed, but it points to a dimension string of 10'7". So please clarify that. I think just please make it super clear for us what the waivers are, dimension everything very clearly on the site plan. I may have missed it, but if the applicant could also discuss any sound attenuation measures that are being proposed for the gym, because these are loud and you are in close proximity to residences. So what the sound attenuation measures would be, in addition to explaining the operational plan and the operational hours for the new facility. And that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you raised a good point about the providing the photos. I mean, I tried to do a Google. I mean, there isn't any photos from the Google Street View, and I couldn't walk with the yellow person to get a sense of the street. So I am relying on the photos to get a good sense of it. So the photos need to be better and keyed. And the distance between the existing buildings, that is critical, and why that would be needed. The question I had with regards to window wall, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Yoon, that is needed when it's a legal window, right? So a
What
community,
is needed? I'm sorry.
the window wall distance,
Oh, for light and air?
yeah,
Or the minimum
section.
distance between?
Yeah, and I
buildings?
actually should have looked at the section, especially whether this applies for, no, it is distance between, 24,652, yeah. So distance between the required windows and walls. So the question is, which part of the windows are being required that requires that separation? Because we don't know where the windows are going to be located on the inner courtyard, because I didn't see from the plan there were windows that much of the inner courtyard. So I just needed to get a better understanding of the requested waivers that are being asked. And so again, goes to the site plan. It's not very clear. So a lot of work needs to happen on this application. Oh, and as the general counsel points out, that the comment that Commissioner Yoon raised about the photos with the key map was also raised in our
Notice of comments.
notice of comments. This was back when June 4th, 2024. That was sent. And it was responded to? No, it was not responded to. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Sorry, I forgot to add one question, which is about the gallery. This has to do, I guess it stems from a general desire to understand how this space will, the new building will function relative to the existing. So I'm pulling up the proposed site plan and there's this arm, the panhandle
Right.
here. And I believe this would be the main entrance to the facility, and all of the other doors in and out are for life safety. But I would like the applicant to clarify that and to basically explain the purpose of this arm, because it does occupy, it covers more of the lot than the existing. And which is maybe, I just if you could just explain it to me, what the purpose of this arm is, and if this is indeed going to be used as the main entrance and exit for everyone using this facility.
Okay. Thank you. We will take, it is 10:30. We'll take a 10-minute break for the applicants to
Regroup.
regroup, and we will resume at 10:40
Okay, this
for
concludes,
public hearing.
the public review session for August 13th. We'll resume at what, 10:30 you said? No,
No,
sorry.
it is 10:30 now, 10:40.
10:40 for the public hearing. Thank you.
You're feeling cold? Oh my God, how can that be?
Ms. Matias, you may proceed with the public hearing.
It's still morning, right? Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for August 13th, 2024. Commissioner Sheta is absent.
Is,
That's what she.
but he's no, he's
There.
here.
You're joining us. I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
He's
Okay.
joining us remotely.
Okay.
He's here.
But he's right there.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Sorry, there was a miscommunication.
Okay, okay, I see Alexia.
Okay, the first item is 2024-11BZ, 2104 64th Street, Brooklyn.
Good morning. My apologies. I was just, we're juggling a few cases today, so we were just.
We are calling it the Lobel Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
Is there anyone with you, Ms. Melanzisman?
No, not for this matter.
So raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to the board member questions?
I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Good morning. My name is Alexia Landisman from Sheldon Lobel PC. We have attended the executive session and want to address the board's comments. I'm happy to report the board was satisfied with our submission. They just wanted clarification on the block and lots that were submitted, which we can clarify. With the board in the cover letter, we can resubmit the cover letter with the block and lot numbers. And with that, I believe everything else was addressed. And so we're hopeful that we can close and maybe make a decision as soon as possible for this matter.
Is that Commissioner Yoon, you're satisfied with that?
Oh, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. Let's go to the public.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 2024-11BZ, 2104 64th Street, Brooklyn. Should you wish to discuss, dial 669-254-5252. You will enter the webinar ID number 160-794-9560, press pound. At the next prompt after that, you'll press pound. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand on the bottom of your computer screen. Once you're all recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss. People. Okay. Just waiting for the clock to run out. Sorry.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the clock.
Not a problem. Is there an opportunity to be put on the decision calendar in August or early September, or is the board's calendar very full?
Board's calendar is very full for September 9th. I was just talking with my general counsel. September 29th is what we are scheduling it for.
Understood.
Yeah, we don't have any other hearings in August. Everybody goes away on vacation. Do you have it set for 2 minutes or 3 minutes? Okay, nobody called in, so I make a motion to close.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
And I think from an environmental review point of view, we are good on this application also, right? Ms. Chu?
Jella,
Jella? I think
Pranger.
Hi, sorry. This is a type 2, so yes, I believe we're good. Thank you.
Yep, so we're good. So just submit that cover letter clarifying the block and lots of the subject side and the abutting lot with regards to, and otherwise we are good to go. We'll schedule it for decision on September 29th.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.
Item number 16, 2024 20BZ, 16736, 145th Avenue, Queens.
Okay.
This is Ron Rosati.
Yep, I've just changed him to a panelist. Is there anyone else who will be joining with you, Mr. Rosati?
No.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to board's comments at review session.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair, Ron Rosati for the applicant. I don't believe there were any comments for me to address.
Any questions or comments?
To the public.
Let's go to the public.
The case we're currently discussing is 2024 20BZ, 16736, 145th Avenue, Queens. Should you wish to discuss, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 160-794-9560 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press star 9 and raise your hand, star 6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Yes, Ms. Prenga?
Hi, in case the board wants to know, this is also a type 2 application and the form appears correct that they provided for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Listen.
Almost.
Most.
I don't see anybody's hand
No,
being raised.
The hands.
So I just want specifically for Community Board 13 to know that the applicant is not, we do not find any issues with the submission, and there is no proposal to change anything. So with that, the plan remains as it was submitted. Except for additional, no, this is the one had a little bit of plantings that were thrown in. No, this was just a side yard study. Yeah, sorry, getting those two narrow lots confused. Okay, motion to close.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
And this will be scheduled for September 29th decision. No submission is required.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Board.
Thank you. Next.
New cases, item number 17, 2024 21BZ, 20425 Rockaway Point Boulevard, Queens.
This would also be Alexia Landesman and Richard Lobel. Is there anyone else from your team that would be joining in?
Yes, we do have the applicant, Father Michael Gelfand, and Karen Pedrazi from Gensler.
Michael, Gelfand? And Don Lamato also?
Yes.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning.
I believe there should also be a Karen Pedrassi in the waiting room.
Don't see. We see Don Lamato, and I just changed him to panelist. Don decline. Is Don Lamato a part of your team? Okay, they need to accept the request to be changed to panelist. We sent that request.
There he is.
Did he join? Okay, anyone else? That's
Sorry
all.
about that. Hello.
Hi,
We don't see the other person.
please turn your video. We don't see anyone else.
I just sent her another email. If we can just give it 30 seconds. We were just on the call with her, so I think she's logging on.
Okay. So far, no one has joined in.
So, Alexia, I think, Chair, at your discretion, we're happy to start the presentation. I can have Father Michael discuss a little bit about the program that's intended, and then Ms. Landesman can reach out to Karen and try to get her on.
We should have her.
Oh, somebody join?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
All right, so
You ready?
please get ready to be sworn in.
Okay. Everyone raise their right hands. Thank you, Father. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to the board member questions?
I do.
I do.
Okay. Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC for the applicant. Good morning. Chair, Commissioners, thank you for hearing us today with regards to Blessed Trinity Church. This is an application, as you are aware, to allow for certain bulk waivers in order to allow for the reconstruction of a community center which forms with two other buildings the basis of the church functions at the site. We have listened to the board's comments at executive session. And so we understand two things. The first is that we need to do better in presenting the bulk requirements in terms of the nature of the waivers, why those are tied to the program of the church and the functioning of the community center. And there are certain technical discussions which we understand with regards to measurements on the plans, flood elevations, and other comments. And we will do so to the extent we can clarify certain information that has been presented previously to the board in our materials, we'll do that. But to the extent that we can also better frame and provide additional information to the board, we're happy to do so. I think the second thing we would note is that fundamentally what we have here is an application by a religious organization. As the board is well aware from their comments as well as prior cases, this is an application for a religious organization which is required to receive deference from the board in terms of satisfaction of their program in terms of a 7221 variance application. To that end, we have a site at 40,000 square feet, which in accordance with permitted FAR would support 80,000 square feet of development here at the site. After the proposed construction of the two-story community center, there would be roughly 32,000 plus square feet. So this is a quintessential religious application at the BSA where an organization, one which is greatly valued and heavily utilized by the surrounding community, has permitted floor area. And because of the limitations of this site and existing buildings, as well as challenges to build in the Breezy Point Cooperative Community, requires these bulk waivers to better situate square footage on the site. To that end, of course, the existing community center at 5,200 plus square feet is completely inadequate for the program of the church. And the proposal here would allow for a 17,700 plus square foot community center, which would house the church's various programs. And I think on that note, I would introduce Father Michael, who can kind of at least in a limited sense, discuss some of the actual sports programming that will take place at the site to better orient the BSA in terms of why we're asking for these bulk waivers. And then we would let Karen discuss the plans, particularly some of the comments made by Commissioner Yoon with regards to the proposed structure and the arm right now that extends out of the proposed floor plate. So Father Gelfand.
Good morning. Thank you, Richard. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. I'll just say there is a great need down here. Otherwise, you don't normally find a Catholic priest in New York City trying to build something. Usually we're selling it or knocking them down. So we're really here to help this community. It is the center, the church is the center of this very small, unique community. And in particular, we have an increase in homes being built, as you're probably aware of, and people moving into Breezy Point. And that has generated a population increase. I just say, I did not want to get involved in building a community center, but obviously being here for the last 4 years, I see the need. When parents are dropping their kids off to play sports and they cannot go in to watch their kids play sports, we have to set up TVs out in the street so they can watch basketball games and volleyball games. And there's no other facility near this location. That's when I said I will engage and start to raise the money and build this community center. And of course, with the increased population, it's a multi-sport program. Volleyball and basketball is huge. It's a huge part of our, because the kids go to public school and they play a lot of basketball. So it is huge. So we have multi-sports. We go from the little kids to, we have autistic population. We have them. We go to the little kids. We go all the way to the young adults. The goal is to have them engage in sports, get off the streets or off the beaches, and to be better citizens and to create some sort of a sense of community that has the kids off their phones. That's why we're engaging. This is our mission. This is what we're attempting to do. And I appreciate the opportunity. We're limited in the space that we can do. We're trying to do a lot with little bit of space, but thank God we've got the support of the community. It is that gym is operational all the time. So we're just able to enhance doing more with it, not more time, but more within the timeline. And right now, as you may have seen, the timeline that we submitted of programming, it limits us. We can't do dual functions. And so that's why we came up with this concept. So I thank you for the opportunity and look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Father. I would say we did get that sense from the letter that you sent. However, we need the explanation to be provided as part of the statements that's been submitted. Especially, we are trying to understand. I mean, from your statement, it was clear that there seems to be you're not able to hold simultaneous programming of basketball and volleyball. However, it wasn't clear from the information provided. how that was going to be accommodated. Because the second floor seems to be the place where the basketball is going to be held. But if that's going to be held on the second floor, where would the volleyball be held? There would still be that same conflict. How would the proposed building address that simultaneous need for both programs to operate? So those are the missing links from the various documents that's been provided, and we need to better understand that to basically strengthen your argument for why all these various bulk variances are being requested. And you have a very good team, so I think they understand what we are looking for, so they should be able to beef up the information in their next submission. So I do thank you for joining in and stating your mission. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Lamato, Father Lamato.
Yes, Ms. Lamont,
It's Mr. Lamato. I don't know if it's Father Lamato.
how
No,
should
he's
I?
not a father. God's not a father.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm,
Catholic.
I do not, my knowledge is a little weak on that, so that's why I'm asking how I should address you.
Don, you're on mute.
Okay.
He's muted. He's still on.
Morning, Madam Chair. Yes, I'll cover this up so you don't see the white in my black shirt. Thank you for the opportunity again this morning. Just to elaborate on what Father said, the fact is that the idea right now, we have a single-story gym and we're not able to hold dual purposes. Right now, the programming needs are both for seniors and for the children. So therefore, the idea of having 2 floors is that basketball or volleyball will be going on the second floor, while the senior program can be going downstairs in the activity multi-use room. Right now, currently, one of those groups loses out because one occupies the gym or the other. With the 2 floors, you're allowed to hold the senior programs at the same time and the basketball or volleyball programs at the same time. It's not a contest between volleyball and basketball. It's between what arts and crafts programs, what senior programs can we provide downstairs and the sports programs upstairs simultaneously versus one at a time right now in the current state.
It still doesn't answer the question, how would the volleyball be met? Because the statement of need talked a lot about the need for volleyball space.
The statement needed for volleyball is for height. In order to play volleyball right now, the kids put the volleyball through the ceiling tiles and they fall on the ground. So that's why there's a need for volleyball in the height of the building. And we also need the height for basketball and the width of the court for the high school basketball games.
So just so I understand, the height for the volleyball is more than the height for the basketball?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and the width for the court is driven by the width of the basketball?
Correct.
Okay, so that needs to be clarified.
So I thank you and hopefully I shed some more light, and please, if there's any more questions, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it would be very helpful for us to get a clear understanding of the various simultaneous programmings that cannot happen today, that can happen tomorrow, and various age groups that are using the various programs, and how you want to separate them out so that there isn't a conflict between these various age group programs. That also needs to be clearly stated in your documents. Okay, thank you. This is helpful to know why the height and the width, where that is coming from. So that's helpful to know. Good.
Understood. And I think Father provided a color-coded chart that says what can and cannot be done at this point for programming needs. And I think there's more that cannot be provided due to lack of space versus what can be provided once space is allowed.
Yes. I did find the chart helpful, but I was not able to translate that.
We can
Whenever-
elaborate the chart and incorporate a little bit more of that into the programmatic needs report to just kind of spell it
Yeah.
out. Make it
Exactly.
more-
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Ms.
Pedrazi.
Federazi.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Karen Pedrazi, and I'm an architect with Gensler. We've been working with Father Michael Dunn and St. Thomas More Parish for about a year now, and I'm happy to try to address some of the overarching comments the commission had earlier. And if I can, I'd like to share screen. I think the illustrations would go a long way to explaining.
Please do.
Okay. Okay, if you can all see my screen. I'm going to start with the site plan. So the red area, an aerial photograph. The red area is the church's site. It's comprised of several buildings, as you know, primarily the church, the parish office, and the existing community facility and basketball court now is the white building to the south facing 10th Avenue. The primary entrance to the existing community facility is from this plaza, the brick plaza on the opening in the front, through this breezeway or alleyway between the two buildings. This is a primary entrance. The 10th Avenue is mostly residential, therefore, you know, most folks arrive this way, which leads me into why one of the questions was about the arm. The arm is really taking the space between these two buildings so we can provide a covered entryway and a queuing area as large groups, you know, filter in and filter out. I'm going to transition right to the site plan. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, one of the comments was about a site plan, and hopefully you have our latest and greatest, but if not, we'll make sure you have everything you need. So this is just the existing site plan, just like the aerial showed. You have the church in gray, the two-story rectory and office top left, and then this is the proposed two-story multi-purpose building, which is our basketball court and volleyball and all of the other program functions in the exact location it is now. It is a little bit larger, but it is essentially the existing building would be demolished. It's quite old and beyond its useful life, and a new current facility would be provided, and it would have an extended corridor, which serves as our primary circulation to enter the building. It also serves as our vertical circulation to get folks up to the second floor. This is an axonometric view. So on 10th Avenue, you see the large volume, two-story volume of the new proposed community facility, the existing church beyond, and the two-story rectory and office. This is just rotating the site a little bit. So you're looking at from the primary main boulevard, Rocky Point. Here we've created a sense of entry off of this plaza where you enter the other two buildings. You would now enter the new building. Has a covered canopy for, you know, to shield you from the weather, but essentially you're just in a, you know, protected from the elements, heated and cooled, and queuing to enter the gym. I'm going to move on pretty quickly. I'm not sure how much time we have, but I'm going to jump right to the floor plan, if that's all clear.
I wanted to note on the site plan is the existing side yard dimension of the garage and the rectory. And just trying to see if there's anything else that we were looking for here.
Yeah, I think you had a question whether 5 feet or 6 feet. I mean, some of this I can clarify in drawings and writings, and we can certainly update if it's not clear, or if you want additional dimensions between buildings. I heard that was one of the comments, but you can see we tried to cover much of this. I understand there's some things that were left off about the existing building. We can certainly include that in the zoning chart, but
you can, yeah. So this 10'7" was also one of my comments. There, because the arrow, the note that you can't see right now says 10 feet, and this is a 10'7" dimension. I think maybe the scale of the site plan is small, and I can't tell what you're dimensioning and why there's a conflict between the note and the dimension.
We can enlarge it to a larger scale and should give you more dimensional information, but 10'7" is the distance between the two buildings, and then the rectory is slept back slightly further, and there's an emergency egress, like a fire escape stair. That's 13.4.
Okay, but this note says that you're proposing a 10-foot inner court and pointing to the 10'7". So that's what I'm calling it. And that, yeah.
Okay, we can clarify. Yeah, there's a discrepancy, a 7-inch discrepancy, which it would be. Okay. Anything else on the site plan?
And I think as you're describing the proposed, it is also going to be very helpful to know where the existing structure stood and where the existing legal non-compliancy there is. And it is the incremental difference is also something that should be called out.
We have a separate series. So right now we're looking at the proposed. We have a separate deck that speaks to the existing, and I can hop to that.
Right, there is a diagram, there's a way to diagrammatically show where the existing building is and where the proposed would be and what the incremental difference of the non-compliance.
I see. So you'd like a side-by-side comparison of the existing to the proposed. Right
We
now,
al-
we've shown them separately.
First, we need a site plan in the same fashion as the proposed with the existing. I don't think that's provided. I think we just have a survey. But then I think what you're asking for is an overlay where you can like dash in or somehow show the footprint of the existing building on top of or below, you know. on the same diagram.
We have some samples where we have, where projects have shown the incremental difference between the existing and the proposed. And
Perfect.
we'll try to provide you.
We're happy to format this in any way. And I agree, looking at the, seeing them side by side, an incremental difference would be helpful. And if you have an example, we'll just copy it to the T. Yes, this is a survey. We can turn it into more of a site plan, but it does provide all of the information, that we would extract to create the site plan, but we certainly can do that. But
Like one thing I was trying to find is the existing front yard dimension.
Existing front yard now.
Which I don't see on the survey. And if it is existing as a non-compliant front yard, that's helpful for us to know. Structure is already encroaching on what would be a required front yard for any future development. And it was hard for me to understand that relationship based on what was submitted. So I think that's what we're just trying to understand. Does this help your case? Because you already have these things encroaching where you're seeking waivers.
Yes, and I may defer to Richard on that, but I do believe that many of these variances are existing non-compliant.
Karen, don't you have a drawing that's in pink and blue that shows compliant versus non-compliant in your deck?
I think that's
Okay,
just proposed though, and we're trying to compare what's already there.
Right, it's the existing building that shows, it shows what's compliant, what's non-compliant, and what's existing and non-compliant with the existing. It was in one of the decks that Gensler provided.
I don't know if it's part of the BSA application.
That's okay. We can always provide
Yes.
additional.
Sure.
But if we have it, maybe if we could pull it up, please, that'd be beneficial to the committee.
I don't have it queued up. I'm sorry. I wish Sean was here. He's created all these drawings and he is just he's on vacation this week. So but I'm also working with what we can provide that for you.
Submission.
Would you like to spend a little time looking at each floor plan, the ground floor and the second floor?
This thing.
No, yeah,
And I missed the rendering. I saw that later in the programmatic needs.
right.
So thank you for explaining that.
So just so I understand, so at no point, I mean, the ground floor will always be used for senior programs and all sports related activities will be held on the second floor. That's the clear distinction.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, maybe this is, I don't think it has to be quite as detailed as the chart, the calendar that was provided for what's existing. But maybe one of the things that would be helpful is showing us what the proposed calendar would look like for these spaces so that we understand how these spaces are being used simultaneously and why they need to both exist at the same time.
I agree. Yeah.
Understood. We can provide that.
Can I just make a clarification because the narrative is just not what I want it to be. So the downstairs is not just for seniors because seniors don't come out at night. It's also for the teens. I'm one of those kids that do not play sports. I read a whole lot of books and did computers. So we're also creating a space so that the kids can go to the community center in the evening. Those who want to play sports can go upstairs. Those who want to read or have a library down there or do other activities, non-sports, but still gather. So the downstairs is multi-purpose both for seniors and for the teens who do not play sports. So I just wanted to clarify that because I don't like to knock my population out of the conversation.
That's right. There's a fitness room, a multi-purpose room, and then some supporting space, restrooms, pantry, storage.
I agree with Commissioner Yoon. We need a more detailed, flushed out schedule.
A proposed for
A
the
proposed schedule.
This-
And I think the existing one can also be flushed out based on what I'm hearing from Father Gelfand. So that would be helpful. It goes more to your need argument.
Right, so all of the sport activities take place upstairs. Imagine hundreds of children running up and down the stairs all day long, all weekend long. A little bit of retractable bleacher seating. There's a safety zone around the basketball court, which is currently it's not large enough, and children are running into the walls, which is not so safe, and they're queuing up on the perimeter. This gives them that ample runoff space required for basketball. And then, at the cost and use of this gym, the reason the volleyball is so important is why not get the most benefit out of building this facility? So the idea was to provide more than one sport. So it's, just to provide a little diversity. And since we had the width and the depth, by just increasing the height, it opens us up to play volleyball. So we felt this was a very efficient use for the structure, and asking for a little bit more height, gained us all of that additional programming, different seasons, et cetera, different age groups, different types of athletics. And then the ground floor, I think Father explained well, but this multi-purpose room can be configured a bunch of different ways. Again, the primary entrance is always through the front because the back door, the back door of the building would be for egress, but 10th Avenue is primarily residential. And we agree that any architectural tools to break down the scale, we would want to use a combination of brick. So it would have the existing vernacular, but we're introducing some windows to have, to break up like a ribbon window to have a little bit of natural light into the space on 10th Avenue, but also would help break down the scale of that building to be a more residential scale.
Yeah. Another suggestion, thank you. Another suggestion to help build up the argument, going from existing to the proposed, would be similarly for the as of right building, show where the existing building is and the degree of non-compliance the existing building has, and the as of right. So the incremental increase or reduction that is likely to happen with the as of right absolutely does not support your need for the program. And that would be a very helpful tool for you to make the argument why as of right does not work. Because you have an existing set of non-compliance. So the as of right will take away a lot of the non-compliance that reduces the footprint significantly. And then the proposed kind of builds up on the existing.
Right.
Okay.
I neglected to show that deck, but we do have the as of right design that
That's okay.
addresses these.
So the other part is, I think, as I was looking through the zoning resolution, I think there is a section that needs to be met. And that is, where is my note? That's regarding section 26-41. I think there is a requirement, and this is going back to the pre-ZEO text. I'm referring to the pre-ZEO text, zoning resolution section 26-41, which requires that more street trees or rain garden, whichever, be provided. So you need to look into that and see how that can be provided along the street frontage, and maybe even integrate that into your landscaping portion that's fronting on 10th Avenue.
Mm-hmm. I,
That's kind of impossible. We could try, but we're on the beach and the salt water kills everything. I tried. But we could ask the landscaper if he can figure something out.
So that's why I think there's something, it's in the zoning resolution section, so that's why I'm leaving it up to,
Yeah.
the architect to make that call, because there are choices given based on location.
so
Okay.
maybe we could do a rain garden, or maybe we can plant some trees. I mean, also, I'm familiar that if you can't provide enough, if for some reason you can't get enough trees on your lot, you can donate them to adjacent lots or across the street at your cost. So that might be something that we could look at too, but maybe a rain garden could work in between the
Well,
buildings.
Again, this is all going towards the 10th Avenue frontage, which right now it's a very big facade without any articulation. So greening, transparency, material treatment, all of that kind of goes towards breaking that 100-foot long structure that is going to be over 45-foot tall to be more in with the local
Mhm.
community
Yep.
context.
I'm
So
gonna
that-
hop to that drawing, but I just wanted to address, this is comparing the as of right basketball court on the right to the proposed on the left. And basically you can see that in the as of right, if we were to build a new basketball court without any of the variances for setbacks, you would see there's no runoff at all. So you're hard against the wall, and you need that in basketball. So this is, has been somewhat hazardous. And here, same size court, but you can see the hatched area has the runoffs and some seating.
Mhm.
So this is the side by side, which, we can reformat, but they were prepared as separate decks, an existing, a proposed, and an as of right. There should be 3 separate.
Will also strengthen that argument is that in order to have league play, I believe you need that runoff space. You can't host a league unless you have it. So it would be helpful if you then add in the reason why it's absolutely essential
Sure.
program.
Yeah, we can do that. And then just to talk about, let me close this out. Go full screen here. Yeah, so on 10th Avenue, we are suggesting some landscaping. I mean, this is very preliminary concepts. Before we've got into full-fledged design, we wanted to see if this is viable, which we're hopefully very glad to hear it is. But we are introducing some windows into that community center, that multi-purpose flex room here, and a suggestion of some landscaping. And then the gym up on the second floor does have a clear story to get some natural light. We're thinking about using a combination of brick and some articulation, breaking down the scale of the building into 4 bays. So yes, it is 100 feet long and 45 feet high, but we are, and there's an open lot to the right. Right now, there's some landscaping that screens, I believe it might be a cooling unit, and we would continue that landscaping and try to tie it into the context a little bit.
It'll certainly look better than what's there now.
Now, which do I have the existing condition photo?
To the operational,
And this is what's there now.
Yeah, yeah.
This
Since-
is the planting that buffs one of the AC units, a little landscape buffer. And we are looking to conceal and set back the air conditioning units on the roof as well.
So question regarding what happens during flood? How do you ensure you protect the community and shelter?
So we're working with a structural engineer, Thornton Tomasetti, and we have collapsible. They're really kind of more of the experts on this, but our approach and strategy is there's collapsible doors at the entryway that collapse down in the event of a flood. And I understand there was also a question about the floodplain line and what we're measuring our top of building from what is the average datum from zoning, and we can clarify that. We'll take a closer look at it. But we are familiar with Appendix G and we have been designing to meet the floodplain designations.
I think all of the flood mitigation that's being put into this building, we're also basing it off of our experience of 2012 with Hurricane Sandy, which decimated Breezy Point. These buildings only got about 7 inches of water compared to the rest of the community. This became the central location for the relief efforts and the recovery for the city of New York. So that's why in the new building, generators on the roof, and we're going to make this an emergency evacuation site for Breezy Point. There is none right now. The only way to evacuate Breezy Point is to go over the bridge into Brooklyn. So being that we did okay with Hurricane Sandy, we don't anticipate that happening again, God willing. We think that the flood mitigation that has been introduced will just be super fortify this building for anything like that to happen again, and be able to, rescue the people to the gym while the fire department makes their way down. So it's a great question, and it's one that, sometimes us priests, we lose sleep over to make sure that everyone is safe.
I would, especially if there's an expectation to use the second floor as a site, a refugee site for those kinds of events. I think you need to flush this out in a narrative format for what happens in the event of the flood, what measures you're taking just for our benefit, so we understand. Are you dry flood proofing the first floor? And what your emergency action plan. In summary, I don't think we need the full plan, but what a description of what the expected operation of the new building would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are dry flood proofing the first floor. And as far as the emergency action plan, I don't think we've gotten that far yet. There's been discussions of it, that this could be a refuge, but I don't think we've ironed out details of that plan. Any other questions or anything I can walk through?
I didn't hear anything about the parking.
Oh, yeah, the parking. Parking was a big part of the question, and that you need to kind of describe in more detail what's the existing situation with the 3 different program buildings and how the programs parking needs are accommodated currently. And if you're expecting an increase in the number of congregants using this facility, how would that increase parking demand would be accommodated based on whether it's on site or using neighboring sites? Those need to be addressed because that also speaks to the neighborhood character and the minimal.
So I'm sure Karen's gonna find something, but it's really interesting here because it's all private property. The cooperative owns everything. So we don't have the luxury of adding anything parking or on-street parking and stuff like that. The state road goes in and out. But we are blessed to have compliments of the Breezy Point Cooperative, 3 large parking lots, 1 right in front, 2 right in front, and 1 next to us, that are all public lots for when we're operating our programs and church. So I think it has always been more than enough parking for our programs. Most of the people that live here during the day and during the week, they even the seniors, they travel by bike. They don't use cars. So I think we're good. It's just, I understand what the question is. It's just how do we formulate that in a paragraph so that everyone else understands the unique situation that we are in. So, but thank you. I think we can do it.
So Mr. Lobel and Ms. Landesman know how we proceed with this kind of line of questioning. We look towards how the existing facility is operating and kind of use that as a base and from that project the increased amount where the parking demand and supply would be met. And there's something called trip distribution and modal splits. Especially modal split. So those are the things that would be needed for the analysis purposes, to address that question. And I think that you would need anyway for secret purposes also. Because that's a pretty significant number of increase, 7,000 to 8,000 people increase. So how would you distribute that during a weekday modal split? All of that is going to be critical for your environmental analysis also.
We understand.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. We're going to now go to the public participation. And if there are any questions come up, we'll listen. Let's call in.
So the case we're currently discussing is 2024-21 BZ 204-25 Rockaway Point Boulevard, Queens. Should you wish to join in the discussion, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 160-794-9560 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
How much time do you think, Mr. LaBelle, and Ms. Landesman, it will take? I think
I think we've got most of the information available to us, and it's a matter of formatting and presentation of that, with the exception of maybe some of the traffic counts. So the applicant team feels that we can return a submission in early October.
You will submit in October, or you want to be here for October?
Well, I'm not sure if the October 3rd submission date is available, and then we would potentially appear at the end of October.
October 21st.
Is October 3rd submission for.
Yeah,
October
it's an October 3rd submission for October 21st.
Correct.
Okay.
If you need October 17th, then that would bring you into November 6th.
Yeah, I think we would prefer to maintain a tighter schedule.
Okay.
Karen, does that give you sufficient time?
Sorry, did you say October 3rd?
Yeah.
Yes, that should be ample.
Okay, great.
Okay, no one has raised their hands or called in.
Yeah, and I don't see anybody in our
room,
waiting area.
Chief Daly said, you want to ask him if he hasn't raised his hand?
Chief Daly, do you have any questions or comments on this? I actually asked him to join in the panel just in case.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait,
I
he's
don't
gonna
think,
come in.
yeah, he didn't raise his hand. I
think he's gonna come in.
He's
though.
off mute now.
Okay.
Good morning, Madam Commissioner. At this time, the fire department has no comments on this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So
Thank you.
No more comments, no more questions. This concludes the public hearing for August 13th, 2024. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you all for your participation. Truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yep. Enjoy the rest of your summer.